Speaking to Roy, I wonder if Mary and Ray are sitting in a voice call right now debating their life decisions. I love you, Teroy.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome. Today we're joined by the lovely Cozy Chew.
Hello.
Which, by the way, I think one of the best YouTube features was the handles because now I can just at you in the title of the stream and people can click on you. I go to your
Right?
channel. It's so convenient. I don't have to have like a weird link somewhere. It's just in
I
the
just
title.
want I just want the ads to not show the entire channel name. Just do the ad. Just that much.
That would definitely be nice.
Right?
100%. But I hope everyone's having a good morning. I'm really glad to have Cozy on. We've been talking for quite a while at this point.
Yeah.
You've been my beta tester for text to speech.
Yes, which has been going well, except for when people decide to spam it for every single message they want to say.
Yeah, that's and it's usually only a couple people too. It's
Right.
one or two people who want to use it for every possible message.
Mhm. Mhm. For evil.
But we'll work on getting that ready for everyone. But
Mm.
today is all about you. And
Mm.
you're here. We're very happy that you came on. And so if you want to go ahead and just give yourself a little introduction to everyone who doesn't know you, which is probably very few people here, but you know, please
Sure.
introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hello, I am Cozy Chew. I am a alpaca desktop pet. I like sit on your desktop and try and make you smile and stuff. And I usually do a lot of comfy gaming content, occasionally some art and live 2D content, and I also like doing talk show based things when I can, when I have the energy to. I really like chatting with people. It's fun.
It definitely is. I know I've been there
Mhm.
for several. Oh, I think you used to call them honesty hours, right?
Yeah. Well, when I do them with other people, usually. So I had a whole show set up where I would bring people on and talk about specifically like hardships that come with content creation and like things that they've dealt with before, like problems with numbers or trying to differentiate their content from like Hololive or et cetera, et cetera. Those sort of issues that pop up.
I think that's actually how I was first introduced to you.
Really?
I was trying to remember last night, like how I first came across you, because I know a lot of people, but I very rarely remember the first thing I saw of them. But you
Hmm.
specifically, I'm pretty sure it was one of those honesty hours because talking about numbers and things, I feel like is a topic that a lot of people really shy away from, and it was pretty refreshing to see someone else talking about it, especially in such
Yeah.
an honest manner.
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot behind the scenes with content creation that people don't necessarily think about. They just see kind of what's on the surface and they don't see all of the work that goes into it or the stresses and stuff that go into it in the back end. So I wanted to try and like put that out there for people and let them see more of it.
Very admirable. I know I personally also like to do that all the time.
Right?
Maybe so much that some people get annoyed with it, but you know. So
No, your
kind of
content is great.
I thank you. I'm a big fan of yours as well. But so kind of in that same vein, how long have you been doing this? Like how long has content creation been something you've been working on?
So technically, for VTubing stuff, I set everything up around December of 2020, but I had two other channels before my VTuber one. One of them was a channel that I started with one of my friends doing like podcasts about gaming and doing like little let's plays and stuff like that with her. And that was probably 6 or 7 years ago now.
Wow.
Uh, and then there was another which was just kind of my private channel at the time where I did like I only did like 1 or 2 videos on that one, but that was around the same time period. So like 6 or 7 years.
It's definitely a long time. So
Yeah.
it does sound like there was a pretty pretty big bit of a break in between those
Mm.
channels and what you're doing now.
Yeah, the break came mostly because I stopped having the internet connection to be able to post most content. It took like God, maybe a couple hours to post content at first, but then it got to the point where it was taking like a day or two to post a single video and I didn't have the patience for that anymore. So basically the second that we got fiber internet, I was like, I'm gonna be a streamer right now.
Very very nice. Yeah, I can't imagine upload times that long.
Mm,
That would be so infuriating to me.
right? Yeah, it was the worst.
Oh gosh. that that just sounds like such a specific type of hell.
It was so bad because I wanted to make content so bad because I really enjoy it, and I was like I said, we did podcast style things, which I really loved, which I've kind of like pushed into my content now too, with stuff like Honesty Hour and etc. But man, back then I wanted to make so much, and it was just like it was suffering.
I actually do know how you feel a little bit because back when I was in college, I was I had very very bad internet because I kind of my first year of college was kind of out in the boonies, and
Hmm.
that's also right around when I wanted to get into YouTube, but I didn't even try at that
Yeah.
time. I think I
Yup.
uploaded one thing once and then it failed because the connection just kept on giving out. And I was like, okay, you know what? We'll do this when we get back.
Yeah. Yeah, I also we had a move in between my first stint in content creation and now, and we moved into an area that was like really out of the way and like surrounded by freaking farms and shit. It was like, oh, there's no way I could do content.
I mean, hey, you don't know. You could have become one of those, farm channels that I'll admit, I watch more of those than I probably should admit to, just
I
because they're
also
so
do.
fascinating.
Mhm.
Just think, you could have been the alpaca farmer out there.
I mean, have you seen those channels where they trim hooves? For some reason, those are always on my recommended. I just can't stop watching them. It's
Oh, I've seen them, especially there's this one creator who's a shorts creator, and that's all every video every time you see him pop up, he's just cleaning his horse's hooves. That's all he's doing. But
yeah.
every time you're like, nah, how is he gonna fix this? And it's just like that's all he does, but it's so fascinating.
It's weirdly fascinating. You just can't stop watching. Also, the power washing videos too.
Pow- Power washing is like a primal urge that everyone feels like to watch
Mhm.
because
Mhm. Mhm.
there's there's one specific power washing channel who he's like he's almost like a hub for a bunch of other power washing people because it's not just him on it, but there's like a bunch of different channels that post or different companies, I guess, that post to this, and it's just back to back to back to back power washing every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, and you're just like, I can't stop watching.
Yeah. You just get trapped there
It's
forever.
it's so fascinating how so many different types of content just hold that weird power over you. You just need to know what's gonna happen,
Right?
even though you know exactly what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
you know exactly what's gonna happen. Like you see the video pop up, you're like, I know exactly how that's gonna end, and yet here I am.
And yet you're still like, but how does it end? Oh
I
gosh.
have to see the process.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
I'll welcome on in, Mom Paka. How you doing?
Oh, Mompaka's here.
Yes, yes, she is. I
She was taking care of me yesterday because I was getting drunk on stream.
oh, that's so wholesome. Oh yes, we stand Mom Paka here. So, how did you get into like what interested you in VTubing specifically for your content creation?
Yeah, because I didn't do VTubing specifically in the past. I was doing I did a couple of face cam live streams before when live streaming was still not as popular, and then we mostly did no cam gameplay stuff or like no cam podcast stuff. Um VTubing, I liked the idea of for kind of two reasons. The first is just that like when you're a woman in content creation, you kind of have to go through putting on makeup every time you go on stream and like making yourself look a specific conventionally attractive way. Otherwise, people are going to like call you names and shit. And I didn't want to spend that amount of time every single day getting ready for live streaming just to like sit at my desk for a while. I didn't want to have to put on all that makeup. I didn't want to have to spend the money to get that makeup. And VTubing is like one of the things. It's like, oh, I just draw myself in a certain way, and I look beautiful all the time. And then the other reason, also kind of based on being a woman with content creation, it's just a bit safer to have that anonymity behind it because there's a lot of really creepy people. Did you hear that there was one dude who actually waited at Amaranth's PO box for 40 days, I think it was, trying to wait until she showed up so that they could, I mean, do something to her. He sold his entire house and all of his possessions, along with like his cat, and he grabbed just like I think it was a giant, it was either a tuba or a saxophone case. Nobody knows what was inside of it, and he was just sitting there at her PO box for like the next 40 days.
I did actually hear about that. And I
Yeah.
wish that that was like a singular event, but I also know that other streamers, like, I don't know if you heard about what happened with Sweet Anita, but she also had
Oh, I
a
didn't.
pretty crazy stalker that, you know, would camp out her house. It's so I definitely get the the appeal of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not fearing for your life.
Yup.
I think that's a pretty strong appeal. But
Technically, there's a third reason too. If a VTuber gets really popular, I think they can still find other forms of work without like their face attached to everything online. So it's like something where you don't have to worry about people seeing you and going, oh, that's a popular person. We can't hire them because they're gonna cause a lot of ruckus all the time.
it's
So
true.
like an extra thing.
I actually use that a lot because I'm in the business world
Hmm.
as my primary occupation, and obviously, if people saw me doing some of the shenanigans I do on stream, that might hurt my credibility just a little bit.
Yup.
But you
If
know,
somebody saw me getting drunk for 4 hours while playing Splatoon, they might not think that I was a professional business lady.
so I definitely agree with that usage of VTubing. It's a nice little step removed
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, with all those reasons in place, what made you settle on your current design?
Well, my current one that everybody can see is technically just my summer outfit, but I've been working on something that's a little bit more comfy and relaxing for everyday use. I actually have another model. I could probably pull it up, I think. I don't think it's gonna cause too much issue. It'll just take a second. I have another model that is my like more mainline outfit. Oh, there it goes.
There we go.
A. I. So, I kind of came up with the idea of being an alpaca girl because I for some reason just have like an affinity for alpacas. I have constantly forced my friends to be in like groups called the Alpacalypse and stuff like that. And I was talking to them about what kind of VTuber I should be, and they were like, "Ah, you should be an alpaca girl. You should be there's nothing else that you can be besides just an alpaca." And here I am. I when I first started actually though, I used to go by Millie Falafels and I used to be a like sweets alpaca. So I had like sweets themed outfits that had like waffle themes or like chocolate and sprinkles and marshmallows and stuff like that. Um because I was like, "Oh, well I like sweets and I like alpacas and I'll just smoosh them together into one thing, right?" Except that kind of attracted a lot of kids. So I pulled back from that a little bit more to try and garner more of an adult audience because I am an adult with adult desires, damn it.
You mean you didn't want to go the Cookie Swirl C route and focus on children entertainment?
No, I don't want to be Cookie Swirl. She's cute, but not for me.
Oh. I'm so
Man.
glad that you mentioned your past life as Millie because I was going to
Mm.
ask about that and why you changed to Cozy.
Yeah, it's mostly based on kid stuff. So I kind of when I was Millie, I had decided that I was going to start out and be like a content creator that was super family friendly and that allowed for an audience of minors to exist within the space because I was just trying to make like comfy, relaxing, calming content for people in a time where, everything was kind of going to shit.
Fair, fair.
uh, but I a little bit into stuff when I was, like, trying to gain my footing as a VTuber. I started realizing that, like, if I'm being this family-friendly, minor welcome sort of community, I can't interact with certain people, and I can't do certain styles of content, and I can't say certain things, and I also kind of have to mother my community a little bit more and, like, try and make sure that they are staying safe, and it was just a lot, too much responsibility, so I pulled back from being a family-friendly content creator, and then I was, like, pulling back from my really sweets and candy sort of designs, which could attract more kids, and tried to push more into something that's just comfy and relaxing and, welcoming, but not, specifically kid-centric.
I can definitely appreciate that train of thought. I
Mhm.
I always think that it's interesting when you're first starting off of the type of audience you think you want,
Mhm.
and then it does take several months to kind of figure yourself out, but eventually I feel like every VTuber ever undergoes at least one major restructuring of what they think they want and where they're going with their content
I think
because
so.
like you think you want something and then you get it and then you're like wait a second maybe maybe this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah, maybe not quite what I was looking for.
But so to that effect, would you say that the current content that you're focusing on and going for, it seems like it's fitting you much better and you're enjoying your time a lot more.
Yes and no. Because technically, I've done some content that was kind of just like throwaway content for me. I was just kind of doing it because, I was already doing like some live 2D or some art or stuff like that, and I wanted to just like toss that up as something for people to watch since they seem to enjoy watching that from me sometimes. And unfortunately, I did that with my coworker Honey's model and got probably double my following base off of one VOD from it, and now people kind of just want me to do live 2D and art all the time.
I did. I very distinctly remember watching that happen in real time because I think I actually messaged you about that as it was happening.
Yeah, you did.
I think that was actually my first message to you was during that time.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
because I remember seeing that stream and then it popped back up on my recommended later. And I'm like,
Mm.
why does this have 40,000 views? What happened?
Yep. I have no
So
idea what happened, by the way. Well, okay, I kind of have an idea what happened. I had this one thumbnail for a different video that kind of popped off a little bit. It was around 10K, I think, at the time, which was really high for me. And I had kind of used the same style of thumbnail for that VOD, and it seems like the algorithm really likes that thumbnail style. Cause now it's sitting at like 110,000 views.
Which for anyone in chat who's not like familiar with just how insane that is for a stream VOD, that is more than most Niji Sanji members get on a stream. Like that's the level of difference we're talking about. Like,
yeah, it was crazy. Most people who are streamers on YouTube will never get a stream that goes that high.
Your stream actually beat my own like super pop-off stream, which was crazy because it was about Niji Sanji. And I saw your live 2D thing pop off, and I'm like, holy cow. That was insane.
Yup.
But that also, as you mentioned, brings its own share of problems.
Yeah, because now a lot of people want me to do just like live 2D content, or they ask when I'm gonna do my next live 2D stream, or if I'm going to stream making a model, because I'll talk about making models for myself. To be clear, I drew and rigged my own VTuber models, like the summer one that you saw and this one. Except for the jacket on this one. I had somebody else draw the jacket because I just could not. But yeah, I drew and rigged pretty much all my models myself. And yeah, people just kind of want that content from me now.
I just remembered the first thing I ever saw of you. I remembered how I found you. Oh my gosh. It was because you talking about your models, I had like a Vietnam flashback right there. It was from your Twitter post like a year ago where you posted the first model you ever made, and then you posted a 1-year update showing the differences. That's how I found you. Oh.
You know, the funny thing about that post, I posted, okay, so it was this model versus my very first model, which I might as well pull that one out too. We're already here. And my first model versus this one, for some reason, even though this one is super stiff and like kind of moves in weird ways, everyone was like, actually I like that one better. I don't understand.
People will say that about everything, except for me. If I dare to show my first model, my chat revolts. But
yeah, I show my first model and my chat's like cheering, and I'm like, why do you like this so much? Look how weird the eyes on this thing are. I don't understand, man.
I don't know, but I do think it's fun to see that like your first model and your second model clearly, well, all your models clearly share a united overall look, in my opinion. Not like with necessarily outfit, but at least for me, I can really tell in the face.
Yeah, I try to keep because I don't want people to like look at me and be like, why did you change your entire face like that? That's a little weird. Like, I want to keep basically the same hair color, pretty much the same, like, in a way, this similar facial features. Like, I've always had pretty much the same eye color. Slight shifts in it, but pretty much always the same on that. And then I've always been an alpaca, and I want to keep those uniting features at least, so that people don't get too confused, because I kind of make models a lot.
I have noticed. But I do think that's one of your more admirable traits about being, you know, the VTuber that you are, is that there's not that many people who can, you know, show off a model and be like, yeah, I made all of this. That's a pretty unique talent that I always find a lot of enjoyment when watching people like that, because you have the power to make updates to your design whenever you please, and the only limit is your own creativity. which
Yeah, I was actually considering doing that probably later today. I made myself like a change in eyes and nose on my current model, on my summer model, and I was like, ah, I'll make that swap maybe today or something. Then when I pop on stream next time, it'll be like, oh, you've changed your face.
uh, it's I, I personally envy that ability. I wish I had the skills to do that because I know I would be doing that all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, it's nice to be able to just like go, "Oh, I kind of want to add a new pose or something to my model and just do it." Or I really wish that I had a different hairstyle and just do it.
The things that us lesser VTubers wish for on a daily basis, you can just go do.
Yeah, though the problem with it is that when you are a VTuber who creates so many like models and assets and stuff for yourself and you have like a bunch of ideas on what you want to do with it all, you run out of time very quickly and I tend to like I want to create a lot of content that has like higher production value and like that I edit a lot more and unfortunately I just don't have the time because I have models plans or I have to do rigging for somebody else or etc.
Yeah, I know. I think the other most prominent, uh, at least indie VTuber that I can think of that comes across this a lot and who actually talks about it a lot is Juniper VT, who,
Mhm.
she also makes her own models and famously has gone on record talking about how it's the biggest blessing and curse because your own ideas eat up all of your time.
Yep. Because you're sitting there and you're like, oh man, I really want to do XYZ, but also you are the only person that can do all of that stuff, unless you go and hire somebody to do it. But at that point, you're spending money on things that technically you could just do. And I don't have that money, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a decent segue into some other skills you've also acquired, especially for your stream. Is correct me if I'm wrong, but the chat on your stream that was programmed by you.
Yeah, I did. Well, my most recent chat was something that was like a combined effort. I had most of a chat box already kind of coded out, but I had the CEO of our company, Shima, take a look at things and like improve it a little bit more because she's a little bit more skilled than I am in those things. But yeah, I'd done pretty much God. When I started, I made my own opening theme song, my own opener like loading screen kind of thing, my own models, my own overlays, my own chat box. I did all my thumbnails on my own. I had to figure out all the like analytic back end stuff on my own. Nowadays, I have a couple of things that other people have done. I've finally delegated some of the workload. So, like, the chat box is partially done by Shima, and then there's some of the overlay pieces that I use. I kind of got as like free assets or found online, or I actually have a background that I commissioned. But the bulk of the work is still kind of tossed at me.
Yeah, that is definitely a learning curve for any aspiring content creator is the amount of skills you need to learn in a relatively short amount of time
Yup.
can be overwhelming, shall we say.
They are a lot.
So kind of in that vein, what are some of your biggest struggles that you've come across when focusing on content creation, whether that's VTubing or not?
I think some of the biggest struggles in content creation are, well, okay, one of them is kind of ironic in a sense. Too many ideas. You get so many ideas and you have to kind of condense things down. You have to like try and go with a certain kind of direction for your content so that people don't get too confused, and also for your own mental sanity, because if you do too many things at once, you're going to be so burnt out, and I have hit that point before and it's not fun. So that's probably one of my biggest struggles with it. But besides that, there's also just when you're trying to do content creation, there's I think there's a big emphasis on trying to follow certain trends and trying to hit certain numbers and stuff like that. And it can be kind of a struggle to just do what you want sometimes and like just know that people will come if you're doing what you're passionate for. So sometimes you can get kind of into those moods where it's like, well, if I don't play this popular game that everybody is playing, then I'm never going to succeed in my life. uh
It's
it's
definitely a worry.
rough. Yeah.
And I mean, I know I've fallen victim to that mentality uh many times. Especially back when I was more focused on doing tutorial content. That's a very big mental pressure. Is, it's like, okay, I need to make a video about this thing because I know it's going to do well, even though I want to do this other video about a different thing. And
Yep.
that's, it, every time you make a decision that goes against what you actually want, it gets harder and harder to focus on what you do want to do,
Mhm.
which personally I think is a really big problem that a lot of us have. And it's not a problem that
Yeah.
ever really goes away, in my opinion. In fact, it
No, it's
probably just
not.
gets worse over the years, especially if you
Yeah.
do have something that pops off.
Mhm.
Because,
Because
like,
if you have something that pops off, you'll also feel obligated to do more of it, and if it's something that you don't really enjoy and you're not really passionate about, it'll just be something that, you feel forced into.
yeah, kind of like harking back to the earlier point in the conversation with your live 2D stream that popped off. I don't claim to think for you, but I'm willing to bet that the thought crossed your mind to do another one just because it popped off so bad, even if you didn't really want to.
Yeah, actually, at the time, I had only 2 or 3, I think, scheduled for Honey's model, and I think I ended up doing, like, 5 of them because it was popping off so hard that it was like, "I need to capitalize on this moment." And then after the fact, I regretted it because it was like, "Well, now that I've given them all of that live 2D content, that's kind of all that they actually want and show up for, so that sucks."
It's such a double edged sword.
Mhm.
And I think we'll probably talk about this just a little bit later on, but when making content, you have to be sure that it's what you, at least the mentality that I've tried to get into is every time you make something, you better be okay with making more of that, because if that's the thing that pops off, you're okay with that. You
Mhm.
wanted to do it because just like I think every content creator ever has had throwaway ideas that they put out into the world, and for whatever reason, the universe decided that's you now, and that might not have been what they wanted to focus on, and that
Yup.
that leads to a lot of problems, a lot more than I think people give them credit for. Is knowing the thing you weren't the most passionate about, is what people now potentially know you for.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's not great. It is not great.
Yeah, you kind of have to. See, that's why people always say to, oh, do what you're passionate about. Because if you don't do what you're passionate about in content creation, then you will get to the point where you're doing something and you're wondering if it was all even worth it, and you feel like you're just kind of chasing algorithms and etc. And it just becomes a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to continue on with the content questions, so you were an indie VTuber for a while.
Hmm.
What led you to your decision to looking for a company to join?
Well, so funny thing actually, I wouldn't have actually joined Kawa if they hadn't DM'd me first.
Really?
Yeah, I had been considering signing up for Kawa because I never really wanted to sign up for something like Hololive or Niji Sanji or something like that, because it was like, well, I've already built this character and I've already built this community and I've already done all of this work, and I would have to throw that all away just to get a chance at like some fame or something. So a company like Kawa already kind of appealed to my interest because they do adoption style stuff, kind of like Bishoujo. So I didn't have to throw anything away. I could bring my community with me. I could bring my character with me. I could keep making my own models as I wanted to, and just like keep creating content under my own banner while still working alongside them. But I was still iffy on it. I was like, I don't know if I really need a company. I don't know if I really want to get into like the legal stuff behind it. I don't know if I really want to deal with it. And then Kawa noticed that I was liking a couple of their posts and that I was following them, and I was like paying a little bit of attention to them. And they DM'd me like, "Hey, do you have any questions about our application process?" And apparently this happened with multiple people, because I also have another friend, uh, Mino Miyako. I was streaming with her yesterday. I was talking to her maybe a week or so ago, and I found out that she got the same DM.
That's
And it
so
was,
fascinating.
yeah, it was really funny. Like, apparently, Shima was sending out a bunch of those DMs to try and like catch the interest of some people that she was already interested in, and trying to see if they wanted to do anything with Kala. And I ended up pursuing it because I asked a lot of like really hard hitting questions at the time. I asked them like, what are your goals in being in this community, and why are you here, and what are you going to do differently from like all of the other companies that seem like they're total freaking scams, and like what about the monetization? There was a lot of hard hitting shit that I asked them, and they answered it all so eloquently and so well that it was like, yeah, okay, I'll apply.
I will say I have also been DM'd by Kawa.
Were you?
Not for application stuff, but I it's actually funny. I almost immediately blocked them when they DM'd me, not on Twitter because it was on Discord. And
Oh,
so I'm
really?
like, who the heck are you? Because like I didn't recognize the name, and just because of some of the videos I've done, like talking about agencies, and the thing at the time that I was most famous for was the Niji Sanji like application streams and videos and
Oh,
things like
yeah.
that. So I have had plenty of, we'll say, dubious companies
Mm.
DM me and be like, "Hey, can you talk about us?" I'm like, "No, no." So I wasn't as familiar with Kawa Entertainment at the time, even though I knew you were a part of them. I didn't know any of the names outside of you.
Right.
So I see someone message me with Kawa next to the name, and I'm just like, okay, you're not real. But then I saw that they were in your community, and I'm like, okay, maybe this person's real. And I don't remember who I messaged. I think it was you, didn't I? Think I messaged you. It's like, hey, is this person actually from Kawa?
I
I
don't
don't,
remember it if you did, but
I don't,
that
it
would
might not have
be
been you. It
funny.
might have been Moo, because Moo messaged me on Twitter, and since it was on Twitter, I could like
Verify,
check out who
yeah.
she was. And so when Shima messaged me, I asked her to verify the identity before I accepted on Discord. I was just like, huh, who is this person? But yeah, I will say I've been very intrigued by Kawa as a company
Yeah.
as of late. Uh, just because I'm so used to seeing terrible companies. It's
Yeah,
a
same.
really nice it's been a nice breath of fresh air to see some of the strategies they've gone through, and more importantly, I've yet to hear bad things about them from any of you guys who are in them.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think that we've heard more bad things about other companies, and we're like, God, I'm glad we're in Kawa. Cause we're honestly, Kawa, like they don't own any of our IP stuff. We own all of our assets and everything ourselves. Any artwork that's created with our character's likeness, say there was at some point for some reason somebody left the company, we would still own all of that because it's our IP and our character. Even if they paid for it, we would still own it. Um, and then like, there's so many things that they do for us without really asking that much of us besides please stream. It's kind of crazy how giving they are to us.
That's so nice to hear. But
Yeah.
with joining them, I know you mentioned that you asked them a lot of hard-hitting questions. Was
Mm.
there anything that still kind of like shocked you about being in, a company environment, since you now have, gen mates and things like that?
Mhm.
Was anything a lot different than you were expecting, even though you knew a lot going into this?
Yes. Because I kind of applied to Kawa because they said that they wanted to have all of the talents on YouTube. And unfortunately, most of them are on Twitch. That's
Oh,
probably the biggest thing though. Like I came into it like, oh, okay, they're gonna make a bunch of tools for YouTube use. They're gonna have like a bunch of talents on YouTube. I'll finally have YouTube friends. I'll be happy and everything will be great. And everybody's on Twitch and there's not as much motivation to make tools for YouTube when I'm the only one on YouTube. Uh,
the story of streaming told in one paragraph right there.
yeah. I understand why most of them prefer Twitch over YouTube. YouTube is hard and annoying
YouTube is
and
hard.
kind of the worst sometimes, but I prefer YouTube. And I was hoping I was gonna have like, because I was in a group already. I was in a group that was called Prism Virtual at the time, and I kind of already had an environment where there were other creators that I could technically do like collabs and stuff with if I wanted to. But they were also all on Twitch, and I had kind of wanted to join up with a community of content creators that were all gathered in one spot so that I could, have like friendship right next to me, right nearby, and talk to them about analytics and all that stuff. But I understand why they're not on Twitch. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world, and I think that we all still interact with each other really well, and we like each other and stuff like that. It's not like we're enemies because how dare they choose Twitch?
Getting into that juicy drama here on stream or what?
How dare you?
No, I
How could you do
definitely
this?
oh, I definitely understand that feeling of wanting more people to be on YouTube, because I do feel like having a community that you're in of creators on YouTube would be extremely beneficial. Think
Mhm.
thankfully I've managed to make friends with, several streamers over here, but it's still kind of shocking in my opinion of how few people choose to make YouTube their home platform.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
It's more that I want friends.
Yeah.
But also it's, there's definitely something to be said about growing with a group and all being in the same place, but it's nice that you guys have managed to, still do all the content that you've wanted to, and even though you're on separate platforms, you still do have the, unifying link of Kawa to help you collaborate in things when you need to.
Yeah. I mean, we did a big Kawa Halloween event, and we all got together, and we went on the Minecraft server. There was like a bunch of decorations that some of us made and some staff made, and we did a digital pumpkin carving contest, which a bunch of
Ooh.
assets, like pumpkin assets, were actually created by Moo, one of our merch, well, our main merch manager. Um and yeah, there's like a lot of cool things that you can do with the company, like that stuff, and like having that group backing. I It's just that they're not on YouTube. That's the only real thing that's made me sad. But besides that, I don't think there's ever been anything with Kala that I've disliked, really. I think pretty much everything is even better than I would have expected. Because I kind of expected to have more, joining a company, everybody always talks about, oh, some companies don't allow people to stream with male VTubers, or some companies don't allow people to say certain things. And, like, we might have a couple of those, but they were all come up with by us and, like, talked about with us ahead of time. And besides, like, a couple of things that we just don't really want to get into and talk about, that there's, like, nothing that really restricts content. They don't really care who we collab with. Like, we can set up collabs with most people pretty easily. Sometimes we might have to go through management with other companies, and it's easier to go through it with our managers, but that's like it's also creator focused, I guess.
That makes me happy to hear,
Yeah.
especially since, there's no rules against collabing with male VTubers. I mean, I'm a cat, so I get around the loophole, but it's fine.
Yeah, actually, we have a rule against collabing with cats. I have to go. Goodbye.
Gosh dang it. What about... But here's the real question. Do you have a rule against collaborating with Pikachu?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
See,
Pikachu
now
himself?
what? Now what?
Oh my god.
What are you going to do now?
Become an alpaca.
Oh, gosh.
Hello.
Oh, gosh. I do have to say that your little chibi alpaca model, I kind of love so much because the little shaking that you do. It's so good.
My shimmy.
It's so cute. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
But this is back from your Millie Falafel days, right?
Yeah, I haven't made another alpaca model yet. I want to, but I haven't gotten around to it. I have a couple of like prototype designs, but I I started out with like a prototype design that had an alpaca that was like sitting down, uh and I kind of want to make an alpaca that can like stand up and also jump.
You mean like
So,
this? I can jump.
yeah, I know you can hop, okay? You don't have to rub it in, man.
Look. I don't get to flex on people all that often, so let me have this.
Man.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, what are you gonna do when the cat flexes his jump on you?
Cry.
Oh gosh.
I do have a
Rael,
model that can sit down. That's true. Wait, hold on. I have to pull back up my beach model again. My beach model can actually sit.
oh really? I don't think I've seen that.
I don't actually know if is it set up to uh-oh. Don't ignore this. It's fine. It's fine. Oh God, I have so many toggles. Jesus Christ.
We're glimpsing into the Matrix right now.
You can't see anything, chat. I know I'm blocking you too, chat, but it's fine.
Don't worry.
It'll
Now,
all.
now, Chad is blocking you. It's fine.
This. Okay. Ah.
Oh wow, that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was really proud of it because I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to make it work. But I did it.
That looks very nice.
I'm magic.
That is okay. Low key, this is a side tangent, but you know, you're here. You know, I go on tangents.
Yes, I watch
I
you.
do wish that people experimented more with having different positions for their models that they
Yeah,
could move into.
yeah. So the sitting was kind of like the first experiment that I've done in trying to do different positioning stuff, but I want to try and make like a model that walks and a model that like can jump or dance or stuff like that. I think it'd be fun.
That would be fun. I know like it's at least when I've seen some other people's models do it. Like I think Vienna was one of the first ones to have like the walking animation built
Mm.
in, and that was really cool. I've seen a couple other people do it now. One other one that I want to see, another aspect of like model creation that I really want to see that not many people have had the chance to experiment with, or at least experiment in a super high level, is the
Mm.
hand tracking. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, but oh shoot, what's her name? Kaison's model creator name is blanking on me, but
Was that Enma?
I think so.
I
But just a
think.
couple of
I
days
think that
ago,
was
she
Enma.
posted like her hand tracking that she's been working on for I think 3 months now, and
Mm.
it is so realistic. It's
Mm.
mind-boggling. Because like
Yeah.
it, I had to take a step back and be like, I didn't think that this was possible, but the sheer
Right.
level of effort she put into it was absolutely insane. And
Yeah, hand tracking is something that I want to look into at some point. The problem with it is that it takes so long to get it all set up and working properly, and it also takes like when you're doing model creation, you have to separate out every not only every finger, but like every joint on the finger and like you need to separate out the shading from the actual fingers because when your hands turn, the shading will change and
it's
it's a
like
lot of
setting up
setup.
your hand as much as setting up the rest of the model.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand why people don't do it,
Mhm.
but it, at least to me, that was a really interesting like proof of concept because
Yeah.
that's probably the most advanced we've seen alternate model tracking that wasn't just, you know, people swaying side to side or different body angles, which people have gotten a lot better at. Like even your model, especially, like you looking side to side, it's very clear to see things like your model looks like it's turning.
Yeah.
That that, you know, even last year would have been on the revolutionary tier.
Yeah, you would just have like instead of actually being able to turn your head as much, you would just have like you would be sitting straight forward and you just go, "Oh, I'm looking that way."
It that part's just crazy to me to see just how fast and how far VTubing's evolved in just a year.
Yeah.
And it makes me question where we're gonna be in another year, especially just live 2D.
I think that we are getting to the point where some webcam trackers can track your full body motions, and some phone trackers can too. So at some points, maybe not this year or like the next year, but the year after, maybe we will probably get to see like a full fucking body tracked live 2D model.
You know, there's a time where I would have disagreed with you, but given what we've seen so far, all bets are off the table. Anything can happen these days. That's
Right.
kind of my opinion, is that anything can and probably will happen.
Yeah, there's honestly, the technology has been improving so quickly that it's a little bit daunting for live 2D riggers. I've seen a lot of riggers who have posted on Twitter before that are like, I'm seeing people doing walking animations or sitting animations or the hand tracking stuff, and I just don't have the time to do that to learn it to because I'm doing commissions and because I'm doing my own work and stuff like that. And they're all getting a little bit stressed out and worried about if they are keeping up with the times well enough, if like more is going to be expected of people for a lower cost when it already takes so much work. It's a lot.
Yeah. I think the one I saw was when Twin Tails was talking about it too, is because
Mhm.
I know for a while there, Twin was kind of, I think she still probably is considered like one of, if not the best, of the best right now when
Yeah.
it comes to modeling. And when even she's like, I'm seeing things that make me worried because if clients start requesting these, models are going to just take even longer than they already do.
Yep.
And it's like, man, that it's so crazy how
Yeah.
I I do feel that innovation often outpaces the skill of individual like artists who, especially if you're doing your art as your means of work instead of just from a learning perspective. Because it might sound weird. It's like, well, they're doing commissions all the time, aren't they learning? It's like, well, it's not the same. if you're doing if you're working on a anything really in life that's for someone else, you're building it to their specifications.
Mhm.
And they probably will let you experiment some, but you're not just taking an entire day to like look at hands and figure out how they're moving and things, and you just don't have that free time to essentially explore on your own, which
Yeah. Well, and
is
not only that,
something to be a little
you
worried about.
also don't have like if you are doing commissions, you have to do things to a certain expectation that you've set on like your price listing and stuff like that. Because if you don't, if you're doing a whole bunch of extra stuff for one person, then the people that you've worked with in the past are going to come to you and be like, "Hey, why does their model look so much better than mine?"
Oh my gosh. I, I would never want to deal with that. That just uh that makes
Yeah.
me anxious.
Well, I think that's also I complain sometimes about like Niji Sanji's not necessarily the rig quality, but I think it's the tracking. And then also I complain sometimes about like Hololive's rigging being a little bit stiff, and I think that a lot of that comes from the fact that they, as an agency that provide models, can't give, like, higher quality models to their next upcoming generation, because then what about the all of the generations that came before that, that they would have to upgrade?
It's already, yeah, that is the unfortunate reality, is like I do think that their models have slowly gotten better over time just
Mm,
because they seem to be using the same people a lot, and
yeah.
over time your skills will naturally get better. But that is an argument that I don't think a lot of people think about, is
Mhm.
if a company comes out with an awesome lineup for the new wave, it, you know, the older waves also want that, especially, we're going to pick on Niji Sanji just because they're the one I'm most familiar with, is like, let's say that, whatever wave comes out next has awesome models. The immediate thing that everyone would clamor to is like, why doesn't Luxium get awesome models? Because like they're the
Yeah.
superstars of Niji Sanji. And if anyone would get upgraded models, like monetarily speaking, just from a company perspective, it should be them.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, regardless of whether or not the talents want to have beef in this war, if anyone gets an upgrade and someone else doesn't, that's just going to be such a pain for both the talent to deal with and the company to deal with their fans.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unfortunate reality of how their business is set up. But, and honestly, I think that's one spot in particular that I think Hololive actually does really well compared to Niji Sanji, is they
Mm.
kind of have specific goals for when, if models hit or models, well, wrong word there. If talents hit certain milestones, they get certain things, which I
Yeah.
think is, it might feel bad because some people will probably never get there, but it also very clearly sets a good expectation that, you know, everyone knows, and so no one's upset when it happens because they knew exactly why it happened. But
Yeah. Well, there's still so Corone in Hololive JP had a I think it was like a little chibi dog model made for herself. She set a rule set with herself and her management and with the other like Holo JP people where she wouldn't use it unless she okayed it with her managers first and it was for like a larger event because she didn't want people to feel left out. Um so like there's things like that too where like even if you get the special thing, there's still could be people who could feel like, "Oh man, I really wish I had something like that, but I don't have that. I haven't hit my milestones yet, so I can't ask for something like it." It
yeah,
there's
I,
still reason to not use stuff.
oh yeah, there will always be reasons. I mean, like, even this doesn't even have to be a company level thing. This can just be a friend group level thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you get something really cool and you start using it, and like other friends see you using it, they'll hope and wish that they wanted it. And if you have like an intertied community, like, it is unfortunately the nature of things when people get upgrades. I just think it's made a little bit worse in that company environment where, and if any of the new people get any of the cool stuff before any of the old people do, whether or not any slight was intended, fans will find a reason to find it.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
ultimately what it comes down to, is the reason why so many people have to tread so carefully is because people will draw, misinformation and misintended things from
From anything.
anything. Doesn't matter what they are.
I think
But
that's one of the strengths that Kawa and like Vishojo have over other companies because we do have an adoption sort of structure. Most of the stuff that happens with like us and with our models is done by our dollar and like with our own time and work and effort. So, like, sometimes we still might be like, "Ah, man, I really wish I had a new model because that new model that X or Y got looks really good." But it's not really on the company, and it's not really something that we can, like, hold against each other or anything like that because, we put in the time, we put in the effort, we put in the money to get it done.
yeah, it definitely is a difference of perspective. It's like, okay, well, if you're the one paying for it, it's like, okay, they bought it themselves. Like, yeah, you
Mhm.
wish you could have something that nice, but it wasn't. I think that's really where a lot of people's problems come in, is when it's perceived that you were just given something,
Yeah.
because then it's like, okay, well, I should be given that too, you know. But
Yeah.
if you're building it yourself or buying it yourself, it's a lot easier for people to handle,
Yeah.
honestly. Which, yeah, but it is just such an interesting topic.
Mhm.
But kind of looping it back into the original discussion, uh, so with your next model that you're looking at working on, are there any cool bells and whistles that you're gonna try and incorporate that you haven't
I
done before?
So I was planning to try and get like my next model done by sometime like September or something because I'm in my swimsuit right now. It's not hot out anymore.
Yeah,
Like
it's 29 degrees outside for me. So
I am wearing an Udi currently. You can't see it, it's invisible. It's just like a giant blanket hoodie. But yeah, I was planning to try and get something done by September, but I had a huge burnout streak where I couldn't really create much stuff for a while. Um, so I was thinking that I would try and get like my next main model done by my anniversary sometime in February. And
ooh,
if I have that much time, I have time to like consider doing a couple of extra things with it. I did with this model. This model is actually it has the sit and stuff, but it doesn't really do much. With the other model that I was showing off before though, it does so many things. It has technically it can turn into a chibi. I don't have that set up right now. It has 3 different hairstyles. Oh, that's not a hairstyle. This one has 3 different hairstyles. It can dance, it can glow. Uh, so I want to do more stuff like this model and have like extra features like that added in. Uh, and I also was considering doing something that maybe had hand tracking, test that out a little bit more.
ooh.
Because I've actually, somebody in my community posted a full guide on how they layered out hands and how they got hand tracking to work. And I think that is kind of a thing that I needed to try and make it work properly. So yeah, maybe hand tracking, if I can get that working, and also things like dancing and changing size and stuff like that, like I have on this model. I also have seen some like comedic toggles that like if you've ever seen Brie at Cookie Box, she does this great one where her neck just extends and becomes long and
Oh
her
yes, I
head
have.
bobbles around.
I have seen
Yeah.
that. I actually almost commissioned her to get a because she does a chibi version as well.
Yeah, 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 she does.
So I actually almost commissioned her to get a chibi version of me done, and have the bobble. So I'm very much aware of that. I thought that was
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious.
The best thing I did like that was I have a chibi model that like I can hit a toggle and when I tilt my head side to side, it turns so much that it like looks like it's falling off. The head just looks like it's disconnecting from the neck.
Oh, Mino, welcome on in.
Mino.
Looks
Miko.
your partner in crime is here.
She is dude, I only met her like maybe like 2 weeks ago or so because she rated me, but I her and like another VTuber we know on YouTube and I were talking about analytics and stuff and it was so nice, man.
Oh, analytics talk are always so great.
People that understand.
I know, right? It's such a beautiful feeling where you're just like, hey, so I got this, and this number, and everyone's like, oh, that's pretty good, or like, oh, I see how this could be better. It's like, you understand me?
I
You know the
know.
struggle.
They gave me tips.
One of these days, we'll have to talk shop ourselves.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy talking shop.
Mhm. Oh, I used to do it all the time with my friend Randon. God.
Oh, Randon, that was a flashback right there.
Playboy.
Ah, he was great.
Mm.
So,
Shop talk stream.
yeah, we'll think about putting something together there, Zathan. We'll think about it. So, I did actually put this up for anyone in chat who wanted to ask you some questions.
Oh.
Uh, which, by the way, if you're here in chat now, you can still do that. The link is in the pinned comment.
Mm.
But I do have a few that I've already asked, or that have already been submitted, and so I thought, now would be a good time to maybe ask you some of them.
Sure.
So, I know exactly who this is from, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to out them or not. But,
Is it Zatham?
maybe.
It's Zatham, isn't it?
Maybe. Oh, she and her genmate got. So this is a fun message from Zatham. She and her genmate friend got so drunk from Splatoon that you could see the drunk eyes through their avatars.
That's
Alpaca
true.
confirms.
Wait, that
But
did happen. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that VOD because I don't think I saw that at that point. But the actual question is real questions. What goes into the design process and how long does it take you to set up your new avatars?
Hmm. Into the design process. Well, designing new models for me, I usually do it based on um kind of some design theories that are pretty well established already. So, for instance, I will pick colors based on kind of you kind of grayscale an image and you try to make sure that there's enough contrast in colors in between different pieces. So, for instance, on this model, I made sure that when I grayscaled it, there was enough visually appealing, like darker spots and lighter spots, so that to the eye, it didn't look like, just a kind of a flat image, right?
Right.
Um,
I was actually only introduced to that technique by a friend a month or two ago. I didn't know that that was like an
mm,
actual technique, and now I try and use that in most of my own little art indenture or endeavors because I didn't know that was a thing.
yeah, yeah, grayscaling to check and make sure that contrast and colors all kind of like work together and they're not too similar to each other. Because I mean, when you're just doing things in color, at a certain point, you kind of you don't even really realize that things look super close. Because like you might be doing, oh, I have these two purples. They're pretty different, but like when you put them in grayscale, it's like, oh wait, they're like the same value. Yeah, so I grayscale things a lot to try and figure out colors, and then design stuff is done based on silhouette. So it's good to have an identifying silhouette that people can like look at, like kind of like who's that Pokemon style. If you put your model into a silhouette, can people still tell it's you? And I think I did it well because when Kawa was first trying to like tease us and had like these little silhouettes of us in an art style, uh people could still tell that it was me. I still knew.
That is, I think, actually something that's really undervalued from a, or maybe it's not undervalued to the person, but it's not something you often think about. Is being so recognizable that people
Mm.
don't actually need to see the model. If you can be
Yeah,
recognized by a silhouette, you're doing great.
right. Yeah, so having a recognizable silhouette, having good value differentiation, and then for like style of like clothing and stuff like that, I partially turn towards some idol style stuff and then also some just current day fashion trends that people do a lot and kind of like mix them together. Like my current model that I have on right now has like the crop top and shorts kind of thing, and I've seen that a lot in like current fashion.
True, true,
So
true.
it's just kind of a combination of tricks and stuff that I've learned over time for design. And then there was another part to that, wasn't there?
Uh yes. So they asked how long it takes you to set up and also which he also asks what was your inspiration, which I know we covered on a little bit more earlier on, but those were the other two
Yeah.
parts to that question.
Yeah, I mean, other inspiration, idol style fashion. I look a lot into things like I think I just look at like a bunch of the Idol Master cards that exist and see different outfits for different seasons and stuff like that. That's a good inspiration. Time it takes me though. Usually these models take at least 2 months to make, to draw and rig and everything like that. I'm a pretty slow artist, so the art is usually what takes longest, like a good month and a half sometimes for art. For this model, I think it probably took closer to 3 months because I added so many extra toggles and things to it. Don't look at me like that.
What am I supposed to look at you like? You just said 3 months.
Yeah.
What am I? I I can't even fathom working on a model for 3 months. I can't do it.
Dude, the first time I did it, my first model ever, it took me 2 months, but it was like, since I was learning everything from the ground up, I was dreaming about Live 2D and I could like see it in my sleep and see the model in my sleep. And there was like an issue that I was having with Live 2D stuff. And I was dreaming about ways that I could potentially try to fix the issue. And then I woke up the next day and I tried one of them and it actually worked.
Wait, really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So
You
I
might be
was
the
sleepwalking.
you might be the first VTuber I've ever said I dreamt about working on a solution and it worked.
It worked. It fucking
Oh my gosh.
worked.
That's amazing. That is amazing. That actually really leads into the next question we've got from the chat, which
Oh
is
boy.
hi, Cozy. I'm interested in maybe one day trying to draw and rig my own VTuber model. I think I've got the drawing part down, but I wanted to ask, how did you learn to rig? Any specific tutorial channels you would recommend? Figured I'd ask you. You're one of my favorite VTuber riggers, and all your models look great.
Aw. That's so cute. Uh yes, I have channels to recommend. The people that I actually learned rigging from were Brian Sweet, which is kind of in a way known as the English father of live 2D rigging because he was the first person to really do English tutorials um for VTuber models specifically. But also just for live 2D in general, because he did some animation tutorials early on and also taught people how to like cut a flat image into a moving working being. Um, so Brian is a good one to check out. There's also Kira Amori. She's who I kind of learned how to rig mouths from at first before I started making like my own idea of how I wanted to have like a mouth set up and made my own little guide for it. She's great. And there's a couple of newer people who I didn't use at the time because they weren't really around at the time. I think Sapphire is it?
Sapphire.
SYA. Yeah, Sapphire. Yeah. SYAFIRE. She's been doing some fantastic tutorials lately that basically cover pretty much everything that you would need for live 2D.
Yep, Sapphire. It's kind of funny because I know all three of them. I've actually talked with Sapphire.
Oh, have you?
Fun fact. She's actually who I learned the grayscale trick from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I when I was getting my own stream redesign done, I was like, I need an artist to look at this because I don't know what I'm looking at. And so I'm like, Sapphire, hi, could you please look at this for me? She
Sapphire,
did,
please help.
and she did the whole
Please.
grayscale trick. But yeah, I'm really glad that there's a lot more of these resources because back in even just like probably 7-8 months ago, Brian Swee was kind of the only resource.
No, when I was making my first model, it was around November, December of 2020. I think I finally finished it around January. And yeah, pretty much the only people's tutorials that existed were Brian, Kira, and then there was another one that I used at the time, Dream Trove. Dream Trove did some good physics tutorials, and
Mm.
it was only those three combined. Thanks to them, I was able to learn rigging.
Which is honestly impressive because I do feel like there's a lot more resources these days,
hmm
thankfully. But being one of the pioneers is the fact that you've gotten so good learning off of very few resources is quite impressive, if I'm
Yeah.
speaking candidly.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that there was a lot of live 2D riggers that started around that time and like started trying to learn the program around that time. I'm kind of surprised that most of us have gotten so far. Because a lot of it is just either talking to other riggers to learn things that they did, or just kind of squinting at other rigs to see if you can figure out what they did. Uh, or like you have to run around Twitter and collect like a million different resources made by a million different people that you've never seen before in your entire life because there's no easy collected resource guide for every single part of Live 2D. It's rough.
I've actually come across someone who tried to put together a comprehensive list. I should send it to you because it's it's
Was
extensive.
it on Wait, hold on. Was it on Twitter? Was it Ren?
No, I don't think it was Ren. Um,
Okay.
this was just someone who happened to be in my community, and they one day they're like, "Hey, I've been compiling a document, and it's like 500 pages," and I'm
Damn.
like, "Oh, okay,
God damn.
that's a big document,"
All right
and
then.
it's like every resource that's like ever been posted,
Oh my
and
god.
it is like if there was a library of Alexandria for VTubing resources, this thing is it. It's it's insane how much stuff they've managed to pull together. It's
Oh my
legitimately
god.
crazy.
Well. Yeah, if you find that again.
I'll have to find it and send it to you because it's genuinely impressive. But
Honey.
welcome
It's
on in,
honey.
honey.
It is a big throbbing document.
Yes, yes, it is. Oh gosh. Well, we got another question from chat, which is on
Mm.
a day-to-day basis, what are the tasks you're able to delegate now?
Mm. I think that I try to delegate more stream resource stuff out. So I like buy more overlays or logos things or stuff like that. Though I bought myself a bunch of overlay pieces, and then maybe like a month and a half later, I was like, actually, I want new ones now. So it's kind of hard to delegate some things out because I just like changing things a lot. But
Yeah.
I try to delegate out smaller things like that. I can't really delegate my model creation to other people because I just don't have the money for that sort of thing. Uh but there's that, and then also I try to buy more artwork. For like the first pretty much year of VTubing for me, I didn't buy any artwork at all because I just couldn't afford it.
I know that feel.
I think the first time that I ever bought a commission was for my 1.5 thousand subscriber celebration because I wanted to buy something that was just like a little special thank you to people. And that was the only time that I had ever bought a commission for myself at the time.
I that it's nice when you're actually able to do that though.
Yeah.
Like I should probably do more of it. I don't. I I think I'm probably the worst VTuber when it comes to like getting artwork made of themselves because I'm too busy doing everything else.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting more artwork of me done more recently just because by nature of working with Kawa, we do a lot of like merch stuff. So we need art for it or like advertising materials. We need art for that or stuff like that. So I think I've done it a lot more recently, but for a long time I was just the only artist that I had. Oh, emotes. I also have been like buying emotes from people. That's a good one that I can delegate.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All these things that you mentioned about like it's nice that I can delegate. I'm like I have to delegate because I can't make those. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's easier. I wouldn't say easier. It's kind of nicer for me that I don't have to spend money to get a bunch of different things because I can do graphic arts, I can do web design actually, I can do some coding on my own, I could do art stuff on my own, I could do rigging and video editing and some rudimentary music making. So I can make it all, but God, I don't have the time to do that.
But the point is that you can
I
make it,
can. I
which
can.
I think is
It's
ultimately
nicer.
the biggest mental like safety net you can have is knowing
Yeah.
that if everything explodes, you know that you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Which
And also, I guess an extra kind of mental weight off of things is that I know that I haven't spent like a ridiculous amount of money to get started with VTubing. I know that that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. They buy all of these overlays and they buy the emotes and they buy the model and they buy like they spend so much money just to get started. And I know that I made most of the stuff myself, so I don't have to worry about having that weight behind things. I know, I've seen you talk about how much money you spent when you started.
I've
I've seen.
I've definitely not made that mistake. No, couldn't be me. Just
Mhm.
gonna hide under here for a second.
Poor Raelice.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah, I've seen you talk about that stuff before. I think that that's probably like the biggest thing that a ton of people did at the time, especially at the time when we both started doing VTubing stuff. It was like a big thing to just like go out and spend all of that money because everyone was like, "Oh, well, VTubing is huge right now, so if I spend that money, it's fine. It's like a down payment kind of because I know that I'll make it back later." unfortunately.
Yeah,
Little did
yeah.
they know.
Make it back later. Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely.
Little did
Definitely.
they know.
Don't judge me.
Ah,
Oh gosh. No, but it is a super important point because even if
mm,
even if you do spend all that money, the know how to use it effectively
mm,
is it cannot be overstated how important knowing how to use a tool as powerful as like the model, all the overlays, everything that goes into streaming. The
mm-hmm.
know-how is so much more important when you're first starting off than what your model happens to look like. Because
Yeah.
if you know how to use everything, you can be entertaining and no one has to see anything that even represents you. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
tons of examples of people streaming with no cam, no avatar, completely free assets, and they pop off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even some of the best VTubers out there, like Shy Lily, who because I've been working on a video about her, I've really deep dived into her past as a VTuber.
Mm.
Like, everyone sees her as this super awesome model, awesome overlays, awesome art everywhere, but they don't see what she started with.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that she started with was incredibly basic. And she built from there. And now she's arguably one of, if not the biggest indie VTuber on Twitch. Like, she's really high up there.
Yeah. I
And
think there's a lot of VTubers like that too. Like Iron Mouse
yeah,
also started with like the most rudimentary basic stuff imaginable.
yeah. And
Or
it's,
like AI Candy too.
it's, there's just, it's, it can't be under or overstated just how much you need to start with what you can actually afford. And I was actually talking with VTuber Senpai last night, actually, where
Hmm.
we were having a conversation kind of about what we would recommend people start with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is actually a pretty good recommendation for anyone who's like wanting to start getting into VTubing or potentially, think about what they might need for a setup is get the absolute cheapest of everything that you can and use it. Whatever is the most annoying thing for you to use, that's what you upgrade.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a fantastic bit of advice, honestly.
Because like you can get started for so cheap and you'll find out very quickly what you actually need to like upgrade and change about your stream to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're not like, oh well, what microphone do I need? It's like, well, you don't know what you need until you've used the stuff you have.
Mm-hmm.
Which, this is definitely not born from advice of someone who didn't do that originally. Don't worry about it. But,
Totally
it's
not.
because
No,
I
no.
made I made that mistake. I was very fortunate to be in a position to make that mistake, but it just goes to show that it really is about how you use the tools that you have to grow into the content creator and streamer you want to be. So,
Yeah. I get the reason why so many people think that they need to get like the super good looking model and the super like freaking streamer microphone and stuff like that though. And I think a lot of it just kind of comes down to like that's the stuff they see first when they're watching bigger streamers and think,
yeah.
"Oh, wow, that's incredible." And so they think, "Oh, well everybody is going to think that. So I have to get those things first because those are going to be the most important things that everybody notices." But it's not necessarily true. Honestly, people will, when you're first trying to grow as a content creator, they're gonna pay more attention to the content that you put out than they're gonna pay attention to like what mic you have or stuff.
Yeah, and you can really see this a lot on YouTube, especially because like some
Mm,
videos that have millions upon millions of views, you load into the video and it's like an Xbox mic in a garage, right?
mm-hmm.
But like the video's still good, and it
Yeah.
doesn't. you can get away with so much if you're just willing to learn how to use it. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, a good example on freaking YouTube is that one dude who blew up sometime, I think it was last year, the year before last, who literally the only thing that he did in his videos was fake Discord conversations, and the only sounds that he used were
oh yeah, Beluga.
beluga, yeah.
I
And the
know
only
him because he's
sounds
a
that he
cat
used were
avatar.
he is a cat. It's true. Yeah, all that he did was he used a couple of images of like conversations on Discord or like faked conversations on Discord with a couple of profile pictures and a little bit of music and sound effects, and that's it. And he got millions of subscribers. So you don't
Yeah,
need anything, really.
Beluga is a mad lad.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's and like there's stories of this happening all the time. Like
Hmm.
all the time. I think in the VTubing community, probably the most notable rising star as of late was Punkalopi, who
Lopi's so
successfully
cute.
infected everyone's shorts feed simultaneously.
She sure did.
But like her setup isn't anything crazy. It's not like super high end. It's pretty normal,
Mm.
but she's really good at just and like the thing to me about her shorts is she's the most stereotypical, like she's just talking to the camera with like fancy zooms and stuff, but she's
Mm.
so good at it that it's awesome. And
Yeah.
that it catapulted her into YouTube stardom in a matter of days.
Yeah, I hadn't seen her before, and then suddenly she just popped up in my shorts feed, and I was like, I love this girl. I must watch her. And then I found out that she actually has one of my favorite editors. She, I think it's Panda Punch Gaming or something like that is her editor.
Oh,
He's like one of my favorites.
yeah, he does good work.
Mm,
To say the least, he does good work. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, just kind of wrap this question up. Just use what you have, and you'll figure out what you need later.
Yes.
Uh, okay. Okay.
Oh, Papa,
This next
please.
question. How is like alpaca meat? Asking for a friend.
People keep tormenting me with alpaca meat because did you know apparently alpaca meat is one of the most delicious meats in the world?
Is it?
Apparently.
I wouldn't know.
Good.
Def She's on to us, chat. I've already looked into it. I mean, all right. We got another one for you. How do you feel about the current climate of debuts having to be big and fancy? Do you feel that they are needed as much to stand out these days?
God, no. I think people are sick of debuts. I'm sick of debuts. I think that debut culture is something that was pushed more by larger companies and by like idol culture and stuff like that. And I think it was a good format at first because it was just like an hour or two you got to hear about a person's like likes and dislikes and what games they're going to play and what their plans are and their story and etc etc. But I think people weren't as used to VTubers then, so they were more curious about it and like they kind of wanted to hear more of this stuff, like to see what kind of people would even get into VTubing. Now I don't think anyone really cares. I think they would prefer to see your content first. I think if you have like a cool content trailer, that's gonna do a lot better than a debut is, in terms of trying to showcase yourself and trying to get people to see what sort of stuff you like and what you want to do and etc. I think debuts are still fun, and I did do one a couple months back, but they're so stressful and they have so much effort put into them and they're just not worth it.
Yeah.
You also just did one, it's fine, I know.
uh I have a new appreciation for, because like when my quote unquote debuts in the past were like,
Mhm.
hey guys, I'm showing off a new model tomorrow. And like
Yeah.
that was it. Nothing about the stream changed except for new model. But the
Mhm.
last one I did was definitely the most amount of effort I've ever put into a singular piece of content. And when it was done, I was like, oh my gosh, it's
Mhm.
finally over. Like, it was a lot of fun. I'm very proud of it. But oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine doing that for my first piece of actual content. That sounds like I'm already dead by the time I've started.
It's not like
But
I did a debut.
I do think that the reason why debuts caught on so well is, in addition to VTubers being kind of new,
Mm.
the streaming meta wasn't really focused around big events at the time. Like when VTubers really
Mm.
started hitting the scene, because like all the big subathons hadn't happened yet, a lot of other giant events that people have thrown over the last year and a half, those hadn't been happening. And it's like VTubers were kind of a nice introduction into like, oh, this is more event based streaming rather
Yeah,
than
that's
just going
true.
live every single day, which is what people did after they debuted. But debuts were kind of a double novel idea that, VTubers were new and doing big events for streaming weren't super common. Like,
Yeah.
so I think it was just a double whammy. But I also do agree that, look, debuts aren't special anymore
Mhm.
to
Not
people
anymore.
who don't know who you are.
Uh-huh.
Debuts are awesome for your community,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
no
I
one
think
else
that
cares.
doing like a
Which is
debut
sad.
for a new model or something like that is fun.
Yeah.
Also, I think I've debuted 3 times. I did my first debut as Millie Falafels way back when, and it was still at a time where like debuts were still fresh, and you would get that big influx of views at first because events were still new and people were still super excited. My second debut was already after the crash, and it was only like 6 months later. So I've done debuts, like, right at the height, and then I did them a little bit after, and then I did one more recently with a company, and I think company debuts probably have a little bit more hype behind them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because I think for companies, they advertise it a lot more, but also you're meeting someone for the first time that's going to be interacting with streamers that you may already enjoy, and it's a good way for communities to mesh together and like check out new people who are going to be in this like extended universe and see how they might interact with this person or that person or etc. Those are good.
Yeah.
But I think if you don't have that extended community, it's kind of just for yourself more than anything else.
Yeah. And also something that I want to touch on, because I'm curious, just because you probably know, uh, with that initial crash after your first debut,
Mm. Mine
how
wasn't as
long?
big as some people.
But even like, so I debuted a 3D model way back in the day,
Mhm.
like during the absolute prime time. It took me over a year to have a stream that even came close to that number again.
Yeah. I think
That
that's about the same with me too.
yeah, debuts they're awesome for the initial bonus. I think they're less awesome now, but also like the repercussions of a debut can also be very damaging because
Yeah.
there's nothing quite like feeling that the first thing you ever did in all of its terribleness is the thing you can't beat.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. Also, that's the other thing. If you haven't been making content for like a long time and you're or ever and you do a debut as the first thing, you're gonna be showing people the shittiest side of you
it's
as
so
your
true.
debut.
It's so true.
Nobody's
Oh
gonna know
gosh.
the good stuff because they're gonna come to your debut and they're gonna check out your debut and they're gonna be like, this is kind of trash, actually.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah, it was so bad. I actually I generally don't private anything on my channel unless it's like really bad.
Mm.
I will never release the debut stream. that's that's locked in the vault for eternity.
Aw, come
It's so
on.
bad.
We just want to
Oh my
check.
gosh. It's so bad. The first couple streams I did are like I go back and watch them and I'm like, oh, oh, this is bad.
Me too. Also, my first couple like clip compilations and stuff like that, I watched them and I'm like, I thought that was funny.
Oh, rewatching old videos is just pain sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Something that Twitch people will never feel.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah, showcase
Okay, so
your debut for your 1 year.
1 year anniversary, maybe. Well, like we said, debuts are fine for your community because those people
Mm.
care about you. You know, you might even pull in a few people who don't know you, and maybe they'll get interested. But doing a debut after you've already been making stuff is just so much different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a completely different experience because you know that at the end of your debut, your community is still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if the numbers go back like directly back down to what they were the stream right after, your community enjoyed it, you know? And
Yeah.
it's just it's hard to articulate that difference in feeling if you haven't experienced it.
Yeah.
Because it's just so different. But oh gosh. Well, the next question was also about debuts, but I think we covered those pretty thoroughly,
Extensively.
pretty extensively. Uh, so I think we've run through the questions that people had for you.
Hmm.
I just wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to be out here
Of
and
course.
pop on to stream. Glad that we could finally make this happen.
Yeah. I've been watching your streams for a long time. Did you know you first found me from like Twitter or stuff like that, but I first found you from the JCC,
Really,
now known as Isekai Inc., I guess.
really, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know they knew of my existence.
Yeah, people were talking about you before.
I feel like I exist in this weird sphere of YouTube that is like there's the VTubing bubble and then there's my bubble and occasionally we bump into each other, but for the most part, even though I'm all about VTubing, I'm not actually in the bubble. That's I feel like that a lot of the time. So
Yeah, I feel that.
it's always surprising when I hear someone mention like, "Hey, I found you from this person." I'm like, that person knows who I am. I've since talked to
Existed them?
Jusagi and Jusagi and Co. So I know who they are now. And
Yeah.
we've talked, but that's super fascinating. I didn't know that they knew I existed back then.
I think it was back when you first made VT Chaos. I think people were talking about that.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. Man, that was
Yeah.
back during my shameless using of YouTube or VTube Studio Twitter to promote myself. That was a fun era. I kept making stuff about them so they would keep retweeting me.
Oh my god.
Look, look, look. I have no shame when it comes.
I see, I see.
But and now I just make stuff for them just because I want to. It's weird.
Yeah, and your
But
stuff is great, honestly. I mean, VT Chaos and everything have made dude, the first time that I used VT Chaos, that stream is probably still my favorite stream that I've ever done because I was laughing and crying at the same time. We
and
did some I had chat spin me while I was tiny and I was like playing Minecraft. So I looked up at the sky and they were spinning me and I was like pulling my model across the screen going, Cozy's blasting off again! Like fucking the Pokemon thing.
I had a lot of fun learning how to make it, but I'm really glad it didn't crash your stream. Because one of the YouTubers who reached out to me, who I don't know if you know who Sly is.
No.
No, he's a really big YouTuber, like 1.2 million subs. He's like, hey, can you put in this feature for me? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it crashed the stream.
Unfortunate.
So I'm like, whoops.
Whoopsie.
Look, if you mess with chaos occasionally, it's gonna cause some problems. It's fine. It's janky, but it's my jank. Oh gosh. But yeah. So for people that somehow didn't put together that you're in Kawa Entertainment, is there anything that this is your time to plug whatever you want?
Well, yeah, I am part of Kawa Entertainment. If you guys didn't know about them, because there are actually a lot of people, even in my community, that have no idea what the hell they are still. They are a VTuber talent agency, kind of like Hololive or VShojo or stuff like that, which adopt in talents. So they only hire people who already have models, who already have established communities, who um they don't really have to provide that stuff for, and instead they provide things like marketing and merchandising and one of the CEO actually is a fantastic coder who actually has created an entire indie game by herself. um so they offer some coding help and like a lot of cool things like that. So Kawa is great. Unfortunately, most of the other talents stream primarily on Twitch, but they do have YouTube channels too, which you could find on my YouTube channel page if you're interested in any of them. We post like clips and stuff like that on our channels, so and there is still some content there. And then yeah, we also do like merchandising stuff. We go to conventions. We're actually going to be at a convention. Actually, are at a convention right now at Nishi Fest. If anybody is planning to go later today or knows anybody that's going or anything like that, we have a booth at Nishi Fest. You can check the Kawa Entertainment Twitter if you want to find out where the booth is located. But we're doing meet and greets all day, including with some really cool people like Merriweather, which, you know, last person that Raelice did an interview with. And I'm going to be doing a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet in about an hour over there. So it's pretty cool. We got like Daki Makara's on sale. I have a new mug that's over there. There's cool things.
I did see your mug and I was a little jealous, not gonna lie.
Dude, I just got my mugs in. I'm holding one now. I just picked it up. But dude, they're so nice. They're like I expected, right? When you get small YouTuber merch. Usually expect it to be a little bit shitty and like especially for like mugs, you expect to like be able to feel the print and on it and stuff, and it's probably gonna wear off eventually. No, this is like the nicest mug that I could have seen from a content creator. It's like it's a smooth gloss finish. The colors look great. Everything's fantastic.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I was shocked actually. We bought 4 of them, so I'm glad they turned out good.
That's so good. Now,
But
now you get to drink out of something that has your face on it.
yeah, and my alpacas on it. I love them, my little boys. But yeah, so if you would like to check out Kawa Entertainment, check out my channel if you'd want any comfy gaming, or I do chatting streams like this too. I did a chatting stream the other day talking about AI art. That was fun.
I sadly couldn't chime in as much as I wanted to, but I was there. Silently stalking from these shadows.
There's a lot of things that people have to say about AI art right now, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually considered bringing that up during this stream, and I was like, yeah, maybe we don't want to rock the boat that hard.
Hey, if you got something to say it, man.
Hey, look. Look, we'll settle our differences in the ring, okay? I mean, you'll probably
are we gonna fight now? Nice.
I mean, you're a lot bigger than me, so I don't know if I'm gonna win this fight.
Actual size.
Actual size. Oh gosh. Oh, but no, Cozy's great. I posted links to her channel in the chat. You can also just click on her name in the title, which is again awesome YouTube feature. So that'll take you directly to our channel. I also posted a link to the Kawa Entertainment Twitter. You guys should definitely go check them out as well. And you know, once again, Cozy, just thank you so much for taking the time to come on. It was lovely chatting with you, and I hope that your meet and greet goes well today. I'm sure it will.
Me too. I've never done it before, so I'm a little worried.
Advice, you'll have to tell me about how it goes.
Oh my god.
See, now the next step is Kawa has to get their hands on the new V Shoujo thing that lets people sign virtually. That was pretty cool. You know?
That machine, it looks so janky.
Did you see the video of it like working?
Yeah.
It moves really janky, but it's still cool.
The signatures came out good.
They did. It just, you know, looks like a little bit of a death trap.
Just a little bit. Just a little nightmare inducing.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and call it there. And like I said, everyone go subscribe to Cozy right now. Like right now.
Right now. Do it.
Waiting. Do it.
I do have a gun.
I don't. But yeah, we'll see you all later wherever you are in the world. Hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. But for now, class is dismissed. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.